Discomfort is one of the most misunderstood signals in our lives. We're taught to run from it, to smooth it out, to hide it under the rug like it's something shameful. But what if discomfort was not a warning sign of danger, but a confirmation that growth is underway? What if the tightness you feel in your chest when you're about to make a decision isn't telling you to stop? It's telling you to stretch. Growth never comes wrapped in comfort. Think about it. When a seed begins to push against the dirt, it doesn't feel soft soil. It feels pressure. It feels resistance. And yet it still pushes because the seed knows the pressure is proof of life. Many of us pray for change, pray for transformation, pray for new doors to open. But when the discomfort shows up, we start questioning ourselves. Why does this feel so hard? Why am I so uneasy? Why doesn't this look like what I imagined? And I came to tell you, it feels that way because you're evolving. The pain of stretching means your capacity is increasing. The irritation of being misunderstood means your voice is finding its tone. The loneliness that comes with separation means you are being prepared for alignment with the right people. Discomfort is not your enemy. It is your midwife. It is pushing something out of you that you couldn't birth while staying cozy in the familiar. Think about when you were a child learning to walk. Falling was uncomfortable. The wobbling made no sense. But you had to go through the awkward phase of stumbling to discover the strength of your legs. Every single season of growth in your life will come with that same awkwardness. Change demands a new version of you, and you cannot reach it by holding on to old levels of comfort. Discomfort becomes the bridge that carries you into the version of yourself you've been praying to meet. Sometimes God answers your prayers not by handing you the blessing neatly packaged, but by allowing pressure to fall into your life so you can grow the muscles needed to carry it. We want the fruit, but we don't want the soil. We want the victory, but we don't want the valley. We want the strength, but we don't want the struggle. Yet, without the discomfort, you would never stretch wide enough to hold what you asked for. Discomfort is the evidence that something is shifting. It is the holy ground of transformation. There are moments when life will back you into a corner. You'll feel the walls closing in, and the first instinct will be to panic. But lean into that moment. Don't run. Don't numb it. Don't silence it with distractions. Sit in it long enough to ask yourself, what is this discomfort trying to teach me? What new part of me is being born in this pressure? Because the truth is, the very place where you feel the most unease may be the birthplace of your greatest breakthrough. We often pray for boldness, for resilience, for clarity. But those qualities aren't handed down like gifts under a Christmas tree. They are forged in the fire of discomfort. Boldness comes from speaking even when your voice shakes. Resilience comes from standing back up after the fall you thought would destroy you. Clarity comes when confusion forces you to lean deeper into faith. So if you're uncomfortable right now, if you're restless, if you're in that strange in between where you're no longer who you used to be, but not quite who you're becoming, don't despise it. That tension is the very proof that growth is taking place. Some of us have been resisting change because it doesn't feel good, but change was never meant to feel good. It was meant to produce good. Think about a butterfly. Before the beauty of its wings ever takes flight, it has to wrestle in a dark cocoon. That cocoon is uncomfortable, confining, pressing against every inch of what's being transformed inside. But without that pressure, the wings would never be strong enough to fly. Discomfort was the preparation for freedom. So I want to remind you today, don't curse the stretching. Don't reject the discomfort. If it feels heavy, if it feels uncertain, if it feels like your heart is being pulled in every direction, remember this, you are growing, and growth will never apologize for asking you to leave comfort behind. Discomfort is not a signal to quit. It is the confirmation that you are being called higher. One of the hardest lessons in life is realizing that not everything we hold on to is meant to go with us into the next season. We love familiarity. We cling to the comfort of what we've known, even when deep down we sense it's no longer serving us. But if we're honest, some of the weight we carry isn't just heavy, it's unnecessary. The truth is, change requires release. You cannot step into what's new if your hands are full of what's old. There are people, habits, mindsets, and even versions of ourselves that were right for a season, but are no longer aligned with where we're going. Sometimes the very thing that once felt like a blessing becomes a barrier when we try to drag it into a season where it doesn't belong. And I know that's not easy to accept because letting go feels like loss. It feels like failure. It feels like betrayal to a part of your own story. But hear me, release is not rejection. It is redirection. It's not that what you had was all wrong. It's that it has served its purpose and now you're being called higher. We struggle to let go because we confuse familiarity with destiny. Just because you've been walking with something for a long time doesn't mean it's meant to walk with you forever. And sometimes God will allow certain doors to close, not because you did something wrong, but because he knows if he left them open, you'd never have the courage to step through the new ones. Release isn't about punishment. It's about preparation. You're not losing. You're making room. Think about carrying a suitcase that's already stuffed to the brim. If you try to pack something new inside, you have two choices: force it and risk breaking the bag, or unpack what you don't need so you can make space for what matters. That's exactly what release is. It's saying, this no longer fits the journey I'm on. I can honor what it was, but I don't have to drag it into where I'm headed. Some of us are exhausted not because life is too heavy, but because we're carrying things we were never meant to hold this long. And yes, sometimes that means relationships. People we love, people who once loved us well, people who were perfect for who we were, but can't support who we're becoming. It doesn't make them bad, and it doesn't make us ungrateful. It just means that alignment has shifted. And if we keep forcing ourselves to fit into spaces that no longer match our growth, we'll shrink instead of expand. Letting go isn't betrayal, it's obedience to your own evolution. Release can also look like shedding old versions of yourself. The you that settled, the you that stayed silent, the you that carried shame as if it was a permanent garment. That version got you here, but it cannot take you there. Sometimes we're not fighting the enemy. We're fighting the ghost of who we used to be. But the next season doesn't need the old you. It needs the renewed you. And until you release that outdated identity, you'll always feel like you're trying to step into destiny with shoes that no longer fit. I know it hurts. I know it feels like tearing away a piece of yourself. But what if I told you that the letting go is not leaving you empty? It's actually making space for overflow. That the friendships you're mourning are creating room for connections that will push you further. That the doors that closed weren't rejection but protection. That the weight you're dropping is actually what will allow you to run faster toward your purpose. Release is trust in action. It says, I don't fully understand what's ahead, but I trust that what's behind me doesn't have the authority to define me anymore. It's a choice to believe that your future deserves both hands open, not clenched tightly around yesterday. You cannot catch what's next if you refuse to let go of what was. So if you feel God tugging on your spirit, if you feel the nudge to put something down, if your heart knows that you've outgrown what you've been holding on to, don't resist it. Release it. Because every time you let go of what no longer serves you, you make space to receive what's already been set aside for you. Release is not rejection. It is realignment. Fear is one of the loudest voices we will ever hear when we're standing on the edge of change. It whispers worst case scenarios. It tells you you're not qualified, not strong enough, not worthy of what's waiting for you. Fear paints pictures in your mind of everything that could go wrong. And if you're not careful, you'll start believing its story over the one God has already written about you. Fear thrives in the unknown, and change always comes with unknowns. But here's the truth. Faith and fear speak at the same time, and whichever one you choose to listen to determines the direction of your life. Fear will make you shrink, but faith will make you step. Fear will tell you to stay in the boat, but faith will call you to walk on water. Fear keeps you rehearsing what you might lose, while faith keeps you focused on what you're destined to gain. And the difference between the two isn't that one feels easier. The difference is which voice you decide to follow. Change requires courage, and courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to move even while fear is screaming. Some of us are waiting for fear to disappear before we move forward. We think, when I feel more confident, I'll step out. When I have all the answers, I'll obey. When I'm not scared anymore, I'll take the risk. But if you wait for fear to go silent, you'll be waiting forever. Faith doesn't mean you don't feel fear. It means you don't let fear sit in the driver's seat. It means fear can ride in the car, but it doesn't get to touch the wheel. Faith is saying, I may not see the whole road, but I know who's guiding me. I may not have all the details, but I trust the direction. There will be moments when fear feels louder than your faith. When the bank account doesn't match the dream. When the doctor's report shakes your hope. When the door you thought would open slams shut in your face. And in those moments, fear will point to the facts. It will highlight the numbers, the statistics, the impossibilities. But faith doesn't deny reality. It simply declares that God is greater than reality. Faith looks at the same facts and says, yes, it's true, but it's not the final word. If we're honest, most of the things we're afraid of are shadows, not substance. They loom large in our minds. But the moment we step toward them with faith, we realize they were never as strong as they seemed. Fear exaggerates, faith clarifies. Fear binds, faith frees. Fear paralyzes, faith mobilizes. And every time you choose faith over fear, you build a track record that reminds you, I've been here before, and God carried me through. I faced the unknown before, and I didn't fall apart. If he did it then, he can do it now. It's not about never feeling afraid. It's about training your spirit to respond differently when fear shows up. Fear might tell you that stepping out will cost you everything, but faith will remind you that staying stuck will cost you more. Fear says you'll drown, but faith says you'll discover you can swim. Fear says you're not ready, but faith says you're already equipped. Fear says change will break you, but faith says change will build you. The most powerful thing you can do in a season of transition is to make a decision that faith will have the final say. Because fear may predict your downfall, but faith will prepare your future. Faith allows you to step into rooms where your qualifications don't match, but your purpose does. Faith allows you to love again after heartbreak. Faith allows you to see opportunity in the middle of opposition. Faith takes what fear tried to bury you with and turns it into the soil that grows your testimony. So when fear rises up, when it whispers in your ear that you're about to fail, don't argue with it. Stand firm and let your faith answer back. Because fear may be loud, but faith always carries authority. And when you choose faith over fear, you choose destiny over doubt, purpose over panic, and transformation over limitation. Preparation is one of the most overlooked parts of change. We often imagine that when the moment comes, we'll somehow rise to the occasion. That when the door opens, we'll suddenly become who we need to be in that instant. But the truth is, you don't rise to the level of your dreams. You rise to the level of your preparation. Change doesn't wait until you're comfortable. It demands that you position yourself ahead of time so that when the shift happens, you're ready to walk into it. Think about an athlete. They don't wait until the championship game to start training. They prepare long before the crowd ever shows up. They condition their body, discipline their diet, practice until their muscles remember the movement, so that when the pressure comes, they are already equipped to perform. In the same way, you cannot expect transformation to meet you where you are if you haven't been preparing for where you're going. The future belongs to the ones who are willing to ready themselves now. The challenge is that preparation often feels thankless. No one claps for you when you're in the gym at 5 a.m. No one is cheering when you're studying, sacrificing, staying disciplined, and making choices no one else sees. Preparation can feel lonely because the reward is not immediate. But what you build in private is what sustains you in public. The quiet work behind the scenes is what ensures that when opportunity shows up, you won't shrink back. You'll step up. Some of us are praying for doors to open while leaving our hands too full to carry what's behind them. We're asking for promotion, but refusing to prepare for the weight of responsibility that comes with it. We're praying for love, but refusing to heal from what broke us. We're asking for influence, but refusing to cultivate integrity. Preparation is the bridge between desire and destiny. Without it, the blessing could crush you instead of elevate you. There's a story about a woman who wanted rain. She prayed and prayed for the skies to open. But one day someone asked her, have you dug the trenches for the water to flow? In other words, why ask for something you haven't even made room to receive? That's what so many of us do. We cry out for change, but we don't make space in our habits, our mindset, or our spirit for the very thing we're asking for. Preparation is proof that you actually believe what you're asking for is on the way. And yes, preparation requires sacrifice. It means choosing discipline over distraction. It means saying no to some things so you can say yes to better things. It means living like you're already where you're going, not where you've been. If you want to walk into a new season with confidence, you can't carry the same patterns from your old one. Preparation asks you to start moving like the future is already yours, because in many ways it is. There will be times when you don't see evidence that change is near, and that's where preparation becomes a test of faith. Will you still get ready even when you don't see the door yet? Will you still show up even when the stage isn't built? Will you still train, still study, still grow, even when no one's watching? Preparation says, I'm not waiting for the opportunity to show me it's real. I'm showing the opportunity. I'm ready for it. The people who are prepared are the ones who can handle sudden shifts, because change doesn't send an invitation in advance. One day it looks like nothing is happening, and the next day everything has shifted. And in that moment, you don't have time to scramble. You can't build character in a crisis. You can't develop resilience in the middle of a storm. You can't study when the test is already on the desk. That's why preparation matters. It ensures that when the change arrives, you're not just surviving it, you're thriving in it. So I want you to think about what you've been asking for. Think about the dreams, the shifts, the transformation you've been praying for. And then ask yourself, am I preparing for it as if it's already on the way? Because preparation isn't about waiting. It's about working while you wait. It's about getting your heart, your mind, and your life in position so that when change knocks, you don't hesitate. You simply open the door and walk into what's already been prepared for you. Pain is one of those things we all wish we could skip over. None of us wake up in the morning hoping to face heartbreak, disappointment, betrayal, or loss. Yet if we're honest, it's often the painful seasons that shape us the most. Pain has a way of stripping away the illusions, forcing us to see what really matters, and calling out strength we didn't even know we had. It never feels good while you're in it. But what if the very thing that hurt you was also the thing preparing you for what's ahead? What if your pain isn't just a wound, it's a weapon? We think of pain as a signal of weakness, but in truth, pain can be a teacher. It teaches resilience because you learn that even when life knocks you down, you can get back up. It teaches compassion because once you've been broken, you recognize brokenness in others and learn how to extend grace. It teaches clarity because what once seemed so urgent and important fades away when life reminds you what truly matters. Pain doesn't leave us the same. It presses us into becoming something new. Think about some of the strongest people you know. If you ask them their story, chances are they'll tell you about seasons of pain that shaped them. They didn't get their strength by coasting through easy times. They developed it by enduring storms they thought might destroy them. And now, the very pain that once tried to break them has become the power that allows them to lift others. The scar becomes a testimony. The wound becomes wisdom. The tears become seeds of purpose. Sometimes we fight so hard against the pain that we miss its purpose. We numb it, deny it, try to rush through it. But in doing so, we miss the transformation hidden inside of it. Pain is never wasted. It's not random. It's not meaningless. What was meant to crush you can be the very thing that crowns you with new strength. What was meant to bury you can become the soil where your resilience grows. I know it's hard to believe when you're in the middle of it, when your heart is shattered, when your plans fall apart, when you're crying yourself to sleep. It feels like the pain is the end of the story. But what if it's not the end? What if it's the beginning? What if the pain is the very thing preparing you for a level of power you could never walk in otherwise? Diamonds aren't formed without pressure. Gold isn't refined without fire. And purpose isn't revealed without a measure of pain. Your pain can become your power when you decide that it won't define you. It will refine you. It won't silence you. It will strengthen you. It won't bury you. It will build you. That doesn't mean pretending it doesn't hurt. It means allowing the hurt to mold you instead of paralyze you. It means looking back one day and saying, that season almost broke me, but it also built the person I am now. I'm stronger, wiser, and more capable because of what I survived. And here's the beauty. Your pain doesn't just empower you, it empowers others. When you speak from your scars instead of your wounds, you give someone else hope that they too can survive. When you share what you've walked through, your pain becomes a lantern lighting the way for someone still stumbling in the dark. Your testimony becomes their strength. Your healing becomes their reminder that they too can heal. We often think that power comes from success, from the mountaintops, from the victories. But real power comes from the valleys you've walked through and survived. It comes from the nights you thought you wouldn't make it, but you did. It comes from the tears you cried, the prayers you whispered, the faith you held on to when everything around you was falling apart. That's where power is born, in the moments when pain tries to convince you to give up, but you choose to rise anyway. So don't despise the pain. Don't let it convince you that your story is over. Don't let it trap you in bitterness or despair. Let it shape you. Let it grow you. Let it pull out of you the strength and power that was hidden all along. Because the truth is, your greatest power will often be birthed from your deepest pain. Change has a way of catching us off guard. One moment life feels predictable, steady, almost comfortable. And the next moment something shifts and we're left wondering, why now? Why me? What did I do wrong? And that's where so many of us get it twisted. We assume that change comes as punishment, that it's life's way of stripping something from us, of taking what we've worked hard for. But the truth is, change isn't a punishment. It's an invitation. It's a call to step into something bigger, deeper, and greater than what we've known before. The problem is that invitations don't always arrive looking glamorous. Sometimes they come disguised as disappointment. Sometimes they show up as endings we didn't expect, doors we didn't want to close, or relationships that couldn't survive the weight of growth. In the moment, it feels like rejection. But if you look closer, you'll see that rejection is often redirection. That closed door wasn't the universe telling you that you weren't good enough. It was protecting you from settling for less than you were created for. We pray for new seasons, but when change arrives, we resist it because it doesn't look the way we imagined. We picture blessings coming wrapped with bows, easy to embrace and easy to understand. But most blessings come in disguise. They arrive as transitions that stretch you, opportunities that scare you, and challenges that test you. That's why we have to shift our perspective. Change is not here to break you. It's here to prepare you for what you prayed for. Think about every major shift in your life. At first, it probably felt uncomfortable, even painful. Maybe it was moving to a new city, stepping into a new job, or even walking away from something familiar. In the beginning, it didn't feel like a gift. It felt like loss. But looking back, you can see how that very change opened doors you never would have discovered otherwise. It brought growth you didn't know you needed. It revealed strength you didn't realize you carried. Change didn't punish you. It promoted you. There are seasons when God has to disrupt what feels stable in order to launch you into what's possible. If he let you stay comfortable, you'd never move. If everything stayed the same, you'd settle for good enough. Instead of chasing the greatness that's inside of you, change comes as a divine invitation to step out of what is and step into what could be. And the only way to see it as such is to stop resisting it and start receiving it. I know that's easier said than done, because the truth is, change costs something. It costs comfort. It costs control. It costs the certainty of knowing how everything will turn out, but that cost is nothing compared to the reward of what's waiting on the other side. Every time you accept the invitation of change, you discover new pieces of yourself. You grow into wisdom. You expand your capacity. You move closer to the version of you that's been hidden beneath the surface all along. The question isn't whether change will come. It always will. The question is, how will you respond? Will you fight it, resist it, and see it as punishment? Or will you open your heart and say, this is an invitation. I may not understand it now, but I trust that it's leading me where I'm meant to go. That shift in perspective changes everything. Suddenly, endings don't feel like failures. They feel like foundations for something new. Suddenly, loss doesn't feel like devastation. It feels like space being cleared for greater gain. Suddenly, uncertainty doesn't feel like chaos. It feels like possibility. Change is not always easy, but it is always purposeful. It asks you to release, to trust, and to believe that even when things don't make sense, they're working together for your good. And when you start seeing change as an invitation, you stop clinging so tightly to what was and start opening your hands for what's next. So when change comes knocking, whether it's expected or unexpected, don't shrink back in fear. Don't question your worth. Don't assume you've been punished. Instead, remind yourself of this truth. Every ending carries the seed of a beginning, and every change is an invitation to step into the life you were always meant to live.